Imagine burying your dog with your own hands, only to hear a knock at the door days later, and it's him, covered in dirt, shaking, but alive. What happened that night left a whole town speechless and even caught Oprah's attention. This isn't just a story about a dog. It's something far more unbelievable. The story begins with a man named Roy. He was a simple man. While others chased fast cars, late nights, and quick love stories, Roy wanted something different. He wanted peace, a home, and someone who truly understood him. He had money, enough to live big like the rest, but that life never called to him. He just wanted calm days and quiet nights. Roy thought finding that kind of life would take years. But one morning, while walking through the garden, he met Viola. She was smart, funny, kind, and beautiful. From the moment they talked, something felt right. It was like he had known her forever. Every day after that, they walked together. Roy didn't care if it was cold, rainy, or hot. If Viola was walking, so was he. He even started waking up early, just to see her at sunrise. He didn't understand why she chose him. But deep down, he knew one thing. He would never let her go. She was the peace he had been waiting for all his life. Roy believed their future would come slowly, one step at a time. First, they'd get married, then buy a house, get a dog, and one day, have a baby. That was the plan. A calm, simple life. But life doesn't always follow plans. Now you might ask, why a dog? Because Roy always dreamed of having a family with a dog. When he was a kid, he had one. That dog wasn't just a pet, it was his best friend. It made his childhood full of happy memories. And Roy wanted the same for his future child. He believed every child should grow up with a dog by their side. After a while, Roy found the right moment to ask Viola to marry him. She said yes. They got married and started a quiet, peaceful life, just the way Roy had always wanted. A year later, Roy had to travel to another city for important work. He didn't want to go. He had never spent even a few days away from Viola. But the work couldn't wait. While he was away, he got a call from Scarlett, Viola's best friend. Her voice was shaking. Then she said the words that changed everything. Viola's pregnant. Roy froze. Then he smiled. But deep inside, a voice whispered, "Isn't this too fast?" During the pregnancy, Roy did everything to make Viola feel comfortable. He never let her lift a finger. He cooked, cleaned, ran errands, anything to keep her smiling. He talked to her belly every night, dreaming about the little life they were waiting for. Months later, their baby girl arrived. They named her Megan. She had a full head of dark hair and the loudest cry the nurses had heard that day. But to Roy, she sounded perfect. She was strong. She was beautiful. And from the moment he held her, she became his whole world. Megan's laughter filled their home. Roy had never felt love like this before. Watching her sleep, holding her tiny hands, hearing her first laugh, it was everything to him. He had his family. He had peace. But still something felt missing. He didn't understand why. Life was good. They had moved into a quiet farmhouse outside the city. Megan had space to play. Viola was happy. Roy had everything he had ever wished for. Then came Christmas morning. Viola asked him what he wanted. Roy just smiled and said, "Nothing. I just want to see Megan open her gifts." But when he walked into the living room, he saw a large box under the tree with his name on it. He opened it slowly. Inside were two big brown eyes and a tiny body curled up like a snowball. A puppy. A Russell Terrier. Soft, warm, and wagging its tail like it already knew Roy's heart. They named him Muggsy. That Christmas, something changed in Roy's heart. Watching Muggsy run around the tree, chasing Megan and licking her tiny fingers, he felt something deep inside. This little dog wasn't just a pet. He was the missing piece. The family finally felt complete. Muggsy grew up beside Megan. He was there when Viola was pregnant again. He stayed close when baby Evan was born. In fact, he was the first one to meet the baby. Muggsy was more than just a dog. He was part of their family, part of their love story. Roy often wished he could stop time. Just freeze the laughter, the hugs, the mess on the floor. He loved his 3 little ones, Megan, Evan, and Muggsy. But time doesn't stop, even when you want it to. One snowy evening, Megan was 4. The house was glowing with Christmas lights. The kids were decorating a gingerbread house at the kitchen table. Everything felt just right. Then came a loud screech. Brakes, tires, a sharp sound that made Roy's chest tighten. He rushed to the window and saw Muggsy lying still in the road. Roy didn't think. He ran outside, picked Muggsy up, held him close. But Muggsy wasn't moving. No breathing. No heartbeat. "I picked him up, but he died in my arms," Roy said later, his voice shaking. He had lost his best friend. Viola came home, and they buried Muggsy in the garden. The kids stayed inside. It was cold and quiet. That night, the house didn't feel the same. No one slept. Megan was crying in her bed. She had spent every single day with Muggsy. He followed her around, licked her face, even sat by her bed at night. Now he was gone, and her little heart couldn't understand why. At 3 a.m., Viola woke up to a strange noise. There was a soft rattling at the front door. She thought maybe it was just the wind. But then it came again. And again. Feeling uneasy, she grabbed Evan's small baseball bat and quietly went downstairs. She peeked through the window but saw no one. Still, something didn't feel right. Slowly, she opened the door and screamed. Roy ran down the stairs, thinking someone had broken in. But when he reached the door, he saw Viola kneeling on the porch. She was holding something covered in dirt. It was Muggsy. He was muddy, shaking, and looked weak, but he was alive. His eyes were red, but his tail was wagging. Roy couldn't believe it. They had buried him with their own hands. And now he was back. They rushed him to the vet. The doctor explained that Muggsy had been knocked out. His heartbeat had slowed down so much it felt like he was gone. Anyone would have thought he was dead. But somehow, Muggsy woke up. And when he realized he was underground, his instincts kicked in. Russell Terriers are expert diggers. That's what they were bred to do. Muggsy didn't panic. He just started digging. And digging. Until he reached the surface. Until he made it home. Roy called it a miracle. So did Viola. When the kids saw him, they cried and laughed at the same time. They hugged him, fed him treats, and gave him a brand new toy. Muggsy was back, and this time no one was letting go. But the story didn't stay quiet for long. First, neighbors started talking. Then the local paper wrote about it. Soon, more people heard the story. And just like that, Muggsy became famous. One day, a special invitation arrived. It was from someone who loved dogs as much as Roy, Oprah. She invited the whole family to her show. Muggsy sat proudly on Viola's lap while they shared the story. Oprah wiped away a tear and said, "I've never heard anything like this." Viola smiled and said, "I think when Muggsy woke up in that hole, he didn't know it was his grave. He just thought it was another tunnel, and he dug his way back to us. Some people said it was just luck. Others said science had an answer. But Roy believed something stronger brought Muggsy back. Maybe love. Maybe something we can't explain. What mattered most was this. Muggsy was home. That Christmas, he got the biggest stocking of all, full of toys, treats, and love.